Recently, at the 3rd Sharjah Animation Conference, in an interview with Hiromi Matsuhita and his wife Kazuko Tadano, who are the designers of characters for the Rush Era anime series, and they revealed something incredible in that interview when it comes to the vision of Sevens in Go Rush. In that the father of Yu-Gi-Oh himself, the late Kazuki Takahashi, advocated for the designs of the Rush Era anime Yu-Gi-Oh characters. He specifically wanted the characters to be more simplified and younger to appeal to a younger generation of the Yu-Gi-Oh fan base and make the game more simplified for this audience as well. Rush Duel, whether people want to accept it or not, is a product of Kazuki Takahashi himself. As a Rush Duel fan, I felt validated in my love for the characters of Sevens and Go Rush, and now even more so knowing that these characters are indeed Kazuki Takahashi's legacy, and they are not what Rush haters would have you believe, tarnishing it. Listen, I won't kid, I did think the designs were more simple as well, but they were also very reminiscent of original Yu-Gi-Oh style, a lot more than more recent Yu-Gi-Oh series. If you look at Takahashi's styles, it's very bubbly and fun, and Rush Era style feels more in line with that classic style, a lot more than later generation characters. Takahashi's style depicted cool characters, but in a minimalistic and more simplistic way, aside from Yugi, which makes sense because he's the protagonist after all. But look at an awesome character like Seto Kaiba. His hair is nothing special, a pretty average style, and it's just a single color tone, nothing crazy at all, and this was the baseline for Yu-Gi-Oh style all the way up until Yu-Gi-Oh! Zeo, where the design started becoming a lot more dynamic and complex. With every character having multi-tone hair, a privilege usually only reserved for the protagonists like Yugi, Judai, and Yusei, and when you look at Rush Era anime, this stands to be true where in Sevens, Yuga is the only major character granted the two-tone hair, and in Go Rush, the 3 main characters are the ones with the multi-tone colored hair. But when you look from Zeo to Vrains, the designs become a lot more complex and honestly divert more from Takahashi's design philosophy. Seriously, like every character in some way, shape, or form had two-tone colored hair or crazy hair. Even Yuma's freaking grandma has two-tone hair, and some hairstyles become very crazy like Yuma and Yusaku, who look like they are actually growing horns from their head. While in contrast, a major villain like Pegasus, designed by Takahashi, just has straight shoulder length hair of a single color tone, which is why I was always fond of Rush Era style because it felt more in line with Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters GX and 5Ds, and not incredibly over the top like in the Future series. Like seriously, if I hired an artist on DeviantArt and said draw me the most anime character to ever animate in an anime ever, they would present me with Soul Burner. Now don't get the wrong idea, I love the style of the characters of Zeo, Arc 5, and Vrains. I honestly think they have some of the best character designs in the franchise, but when people talk about Rush Era characters being plain and not Yu-Gi-Oh style, it's frustrating since they fit the bill more than characters from Zeo series and up. So I'm not saying you need to like the designs at all just because they were approved by Kazuki Takahashi, but hopefully those people who don't like the designs won't say ridiculous things like the style is not Yu-Gi-Oh style or disrespect the creator of Yu-Gi-Oh. You don't need to like it, but to say it is not Yu-Gi-Oh is false no matter your view. Granted, I don't expect Rush hate to just end. The haters will find something else to hate, like the age range of the new cast, which is very strange since Yuga and the gang are in the same age range as most of us when we were introduced to Yu-Gi-Oh ourselves. Heck, I was literally in middle school when Yu-Gi-Oh first came out, and I'm sure many of us longtime fans were in the same age range, yet now the age of the characters are now too young to relate to? Well, yeah, because now you are in your late 20s to early 40s and you have an unrealistic expectation of the franchise to mature with you because you are entitled and believe Yu-Gi-Oh is yours to lay claim to just because it is a major part of your childhood. That is why I can never understand the people who scoff at Rush Era and proudly say that is not my Yu-Gi-Oh or that's not Yu-Gi-Oh at all. Seriously, when people say Rush Era is not Yu-Gi-Oh, I just can't help but imagine an old, grumpy man who hears something modern on the radio and says, "That's not music. Back in my day, we had real music." Like, back in my day, we had Stardust Dragon. Now there's this draggy ass fellow. What's a damn draggy ass? So yes, it is hard for you to identify more with the characters because you keep getting older, and the only way for you to truly identify with a character at your current age is if they made a Yu-Gi-Oh series where the protagonist is in their 30s with a crappy 9-to-5 job and plays Duel Monsters to earn money to pay bills instead of the daily grind, which honestly doesn't even sound like a bad idea, which also shows that I'm in that higher entire age range of fan base as well. Honestly, for a franchise to survive, you need to build a new audience. You can't just keep catering to your aging fan base that are preoccupied with work, school, taking care of a family. You need to branch out and not just appeal to older men. So Rush Era tries to bring in a new generation of fans and even make strides the previous 6 series did not do, such as make females welcome in the game by actually presenting female characters as being equal to the male characters and not living off that played out mindset that shonen series means female characters have to be secondary or purposely useless because a male can't identify with them. That is a dead, archaic mindset, and the shape of shonen series these days are now moving past all the series having useless Sakura Harunos, because regardless of your sex, you can still identify with a character's motivations and personality. Even a boys club series like Beyblade has found the value of getting a female audience moving into the X era, which is a stark contrast to what we saw in Burst era. Heck, even Mark Kirk, Senior VP of Distribution at Konami, when speaking about Go Rushing License, said this in quotes: "The series is impressive for its well-written female characters who bring humor and sensitivity to the program along with tasteful references to older shows in the franchise." The fact that someone in his position even mentioned the positive female representation speaks volumes to the realities of how females were treated in the past Yu-Gi-Oh series, and should have been resolved the moment the need of the Princess Cup was introduced. And honestly, the Yu-Gi-Oh series up to that time never helped with that issue and how they presented female characters at that time. Overall, Rush has been making strides to change things up in a direction to keep the franchise surviving and fixing past marketing mistakes of the franchise, and also applying Kazuki's vision to draw in a new fandom that can discover Yu-Gi-Oh like many of us did at that age. But even if that is not an issue with these Rush haters, they will instead complain that because the characters play Rush duel format that it is not Yu-Gi-Oh! Yet they will praise 5Ds, which over 90% of the duels were writing duels, which don't follow the exact rules of the game by eliminating quick play, continuous, equip, and all but one field spell from the format, and gives spells a new resource management system. That doesn't sound like traditional Master Duel Yu-Gi-Oh to me. Or even praise Arc 5, where all but one duel was an action duel, a format where the duelists use athletic ability to get action cards and gain advantage, which is definitely something not done in regular Yu-Gi-Oh, that's for darn sure. Or one of the strangest things is the love for Yu-Gi-Oh reigns despite over 90% of the duels being speed duels, a format that is more in line with Rush Duel than Master Rule Yu-Gi-Oh! And while series like 5Ds and Vrays did have some Master Rule matches, it was a small drop in the bucket compared to the duel format those series were driven on. So if you want to die on that hill that there was such a small amount of Master Duel matches, then that is on you to grasp those straws as tightly as possible, because in the end, when you hate something for the sake of hating something, you will keep finding reasons to justify your hate instead of realizing that maybe your reason for hating wasn't as big as the deal as you thought and could just move into a more neutral opinion on the subject. It really is a shame the community can't learn from other player bases like Magic the Gathering, who embrace different formats with specific cards and altering game mechanics like Commander and Plane Chase, or Vanguard players who understand the reason for soft reboots due to the game becoming out of hand. In the end, I think this was a beautiful reveal because it means Kazuki Takahashi left this world with his vision being brought to us, and as fans of this amazing franchise, whether you love or hate Rush Era, I hope you find some solace in this and don't revert to a forever man-child and say, despite everything I know, this is still not Yu-Gi-Oh! You don't need to like it, but to claim it is not Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a failing stance to take, and I hope those who dislike Rush who found out about this interview at least respect the designs and the game, even if it is not their cup of tea, because at the end of the day, not having something appeal to you doesn't mean it is something you need to hate by default. Now don't get me wrong here, Rush Era is not without its faults, especially compared to the past series. I tend to find the soundtrack weak with no real banger openings and personally one amazing ending, while series like Arc 5, Zeal, and 5Ds were very good in the openings and endings department, and the Rush Era OSTs besides Nail and Dark Mindsters theme pale in comparison to 5D's OSTs. Rush Era animation fluctuates at times, while series like Arc 5 and Reigns, despite my hate for them, have incredibly solid animation. And the worst offender in Rush Duel is the scripting that 99% of the time abides to a 4-turn rule system where most duels are 4 turns, so you know whoever plays first will lose 9 out of 10 of the time, times, which sucks in the series like Go Rush and Sevens, where clear-cut winners and losers are not a thing, and the series can surprise you many times with an outcome you didn't expect at first, but now you know depending on the player who's playing first. And don't think because the franchise wants a younger audience that it alienates the original audience like us, because while I was skeptical at first, I really loved Rush era anime, and many others have as well. So its reach does grip the older fan base who have given the series a fair chance with no preconceived bias. At the moment, the only legit reason I could think to dislike Rush Duel, at least in the West, is that we don't have the game. So for many of us, it's hard to care about a game or a series that advertises something that we can't physically collect or play. But that is a circumstance a lot different than hating something, because it is different than what you were used to. So while I don't think Rush hate will end, I do think this was an amazing reveal during that interview, and hopefully those who are on the fence or were hating Rush Duel do see it in a slightly different light and understand the necessity for Rush era, especially after going so long in the original game, and the strides it's been making towards the game to incorporate a younger fan base, a female fan base, and cater to an older fan base who are kind of sick and tired of the current game state. But that is all I have for you guys today. Seriously, this is the kind of video I didn't want to make, despite my channel being pretty controversial at times, simply because I have opinions that I think some people don't want to talk about, and I'm kind of a Rush Duel content creator, so by default I do get a lot of hate from a lot of people. And I do wish the hate would finally end for Rush Duel, because at the end of the day, it's not warranted. You'll have people that say, oh my goodness, the new layout looks like Cardfight Vanguard, as if that's an insult. Or others will say, oh, you're so stupid, you can't count stars, so you need it in a graphic. When aesthetically, it's a lot more pleasing to have it in a graphic and remove that level of real estate to expand the card art. But you know, who cares about good formatting when you can have tradition, right? Or people will complain about legacy support making its way to Rush Duel and actually getting some fresh, brand new things, and complain, why can't we get that in the original game? Even though in the original game, there are more cards released per year, and every single mainline booster pack contains legacy supports from cards in the anime. Yet Rush Duel, if they get Magnet Warriors here and there, or maybe if they get Harpies Lady, it's a big issue. But even though you get all these anime-centric packs per year, plus your mainline booster supporting all those nice cool anime decks, you still want to complain about it. So, and another knock that some people might use against the Rush era anime is that it's not as mature as the other series, and to that I say you are absolutely correct, and who cares? Whoever said that maturity is the benchmark of determining if something is good or not? If you're just gonna hang your head on it's not as mature, then too bad for you, because there are a lot more other things to take into consideration, such as characters, relatability, plot, world building. These things have to matter to a degree. It doesn't matter if it's not as mature as the other series, it still has everything else well done in spades. I mean, it's so easy for me to even get behind all of these characters. I can understand Yuga because I understand wanting dual monsters to be fun. I can understand Luke because at one point I wanted to be the champion of Yu-Gi-Oh! One day. Heck, I probably still would want to. And as an adult, I can understand Romin's crossroads of wanting to still be able to enjoy dual monsters, but also want to aspire to do other things as well, and have to fight to bring them together so that she can equally enjoy them both throughout her life. So sure, it's not as mature or edgy or traumatic as the other series. It'll never be the Shibuya arc of Yu-Gi-Oh! But still, it's amazing. And if you're gonna throw away all the positive assets just because it's not as mature, then fine, that's on you. But I'm glad I could think better than that, and I'm glad others can as well. Yeah, at the end of the day, it's probably never gonna end. People are always gonna find a reason to hate, and it sucks because I love this franchise. I just wish the fan base was more unified. And arguably, me calling out the more negative fan base for their weird outcries kind of doesn't make things better. But heck, I had to make myself known in a video and not just fight with people in a comment section who want to leave me paragraphs upon paragraphs. But hopefully one day that will change and all of us can come together and realize we all absolutely love this series. We absolutely love this franchise, and realize that Rush Duel is a great way to get new players into the game, get back lapsed players that don't like the current format, and also realize that the animes, while different,
do incorporate exactly what we loved about Yu-Gi-Oh! People coming together to face off enemies using dual monster cards, which is by default the bare bones of what Yu-Gi-Oh! Is, just done in different ways and styles. All I can do is hope for the best and hope for positivity more in this community, and maybe one day when Rush does hit the States, maybe people will feel different about it now that they can actually play it. But for now, that's just a dream I've been having for the past 6 years. But until next time, people, please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, or maybe if you didn't enjoy and you want to say something nasty to me in the comment section, at least give me that thumbs up. And, you know, share, subscribe, and most importantly, peace out.